back to the hottest marriage show in our household. It's I, John D. and
Kanika,
a.k.a. And Too Much Podcast. Good morning, my love.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great.
It's an interesting shirt you got on there.
It's the day. It's the day.
It is.
Truthfully, I'm afraid. I'm excited, but I'm afraid. I'm excited because I want to trust in my people, but I'm afraid that my people gonna let me down.
Really? Who's your people?
The entire country.
That's what I'm talking about.
The entire country. But, you know, we can only hope for the best.
Yeah, I'm not really worried. I do believe it's the end of a regime. This is the last great hope for like the I guess the old white regime of old money. I think new ideas are going to change, and I guess it's going to present other people with better options. Honestly, I don't understand how everybody is like
on the fence.
On the fence about her as if he's better candidate.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the things I always tell people is that this isn't about as much as we like to act like it is. It's not a racist thing. It's a classist thing, but it's disguised as a racist thing. So I always think of the gag is there are far more poor people in the United States than there are rich people.
For sure.
There are more white people than there are people like, you know, broken up people of color, right? So when we have this breakup of there's a party that, you know, it appears, and I'm not going to tell people how parties operate, but this is just my perception. The conservative idea, Dallas was explaining to me last night, he said conservative is to conserve. They're trying to conserve old traditions, ideas, structures, all of that stuff. So what they're doing is keeping us in this structural way that benefits the few at the expense of the many. And he was like, I mean, all the way back to history before, you had the few that had a lot of money on the backs of those who did not. And so he's like, they're trying to conserve that. But what it reminded me of when they used to talk about all of the poor people used to try to unionize or band together in different parts of the South at some point. And then they realized, they were like, we can't do that. So we need to start separating the poor whites from the poor blacks. We don't want them to have this shared commonality where they come against us. Mm. So then they began this whole idea of, you know, these indentured servants and these slaves are no longer intermingling and having this, like, there's a hierarchy. Y'all are better because y'all look more like us.
Yeah.
So then it creates an idea that it's about racism. And some people, I really believe that people who are usually disadvantaged and, you know, they tend to want to be on the winning team at any point in time. And I think that that's the gag, that you have a large portion of the United States who, like some of the Republican states, are the worst in education, the worst in, like, as far as having more cases of welfare, all that other stuff. And so, but why do you think that is? So you have this large portion of people who are poor. And if you guys got together looking at it from a classist standpoint, you would understand that we need to be fighting the people who are trying to conserve the same ideas that we've been built on and maintaining for hundreds and hundreds of years. But he said, back to Dallas, he was saying, then there's the progressives. And he said the idea is that they want to progress. They want to change structures. And it may not be these big, massive changes, but tweaks here and there, because little steps get you to big steps, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was like, that's, I mean, it's nice to see it that way, to understand it in that way. But so many people are so excited about being on the team. I want to be on this team, you know, the loudest team, the most, you know, obnoxious team sometimes, the one that's out in, like, everybody is feeling really, really strongly and excited about their teams right now. And I often feel like we need to stop looking at this as a color issue, because it feels like it in a lot of the ways that, like, I'm going to be honest about myself. I have anxiety about large flags. I know this sounds so crazy. It does. But if I see a truck or a motorcycle or whatever with a large flag, it can be a flag that has Trump on it. It could be an American flag at this point. When I see it, I'm immediately on alert because I'm afraid of what can happen. Nothing has ever happened to me. And that's the thing. It's this irrational fear I have. But there's something about what has happened in the last 6, 8 years or so that has really made me less confident in the people living in the country with me. And the excitement and the ability for people to say some things that are really harmful to people are okay. It's okay. It's the way they minimize it. It makes me fearful. And so going into this, like, I'm sure that y'all have heard the Philadelphia district attorney when he was like, all right, so, y'all can act like y'all gonna intimidate these people at the polls, but F around and find out. And that's the thing. They've made statements to say what's going to happen afterward. And we saw what happened on January 6th. If they say it, there are enough sheep in that group to really, really wreak havoc. And my fear is that they're going to feel like they've been cheated out of another opportunity if he does not win. And the safety of the environment, it's not where I live. Where I live, I feel like it's not really overrun by one or more groups. But in other people's areas, I'm really concerned. I'm worried. And
I definitely know that there are people that I work with that are worried.
Yeah. And what's so crazy is that it's not even a question of who's more qualified for the position.
That's crazy.
Because we've already seen him. It's like we saw him in the job and then we fired him and it was like, I don't know, maybe this time he can do the job right.
We got rid of him and he got convicted of felonies and thought he's more qualified now.
Yeah. And then he comes back and he's going against a prosecutor. Like the bar that has been set for her against him, in which anybody else anybody of color who would have behaved the way that he did, they would have immediately dismissed him and he would have been in a corner somewhere. But the other thing I'm worried about is if he wins, 2 very qualified women will have lost to him. What does that say about
the country?
The country.
It's very conservative.
It really, really.
I don't think so, though. So I just saw this before. I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but it was like showing how a certain news network fell in their face by talking to people in that party. Mm-hmm. And they went to Georgia, and these were old white men. And it was like, he's a convicted felon. I don't understand America at this point.
Really?
Like the way that he sounded, the environment he was in looked like he would, like if he never said that, I would have thought that he is.
And that's the stereotyping that we're doing now.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
But it was just like that like Americans don't do that.
And then that's the thing. We want to represent this great thing, but we be like, hey, just pull somebody out of Rikers. put them up. Like, it's crazy to me. But some people are defending it and saying yes. And even if they don't know that they're doing it for racist reasons. Because, when we grow up in certain areas, whatever is natural is natural. I have a manager. He grew up in Tennessee. And he was like, I grew up where they explained away, discrimination of using the Bible. And he was like, and when I went out into the world and I started meeting people for myself, I realized that that's not really what I want for myself and for my children to learn. And but you get this idea because there are so many, the loudest people in the room, they're the ones that draw that attention and get you going, right? So it tends to be the loudest ones in that group that are like drawing attention, and it makes you feel like anybody you see is a possible threat. Trust me, I know that this is an irrational fear. I'm really trying to work on it. I'm hoping that after this week, I'm really hoping that I can like dial it down.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
With that, the same feeling that you have about those flags, is that
Yeah.
could that be the same way as somebody in a hoodie? That people associate somebody with a hoodie as doing bad things, and
You know what? Maybe. I don't fear that because I don't think that makes anybody dangerous.
what doesn't make
But
it dangerous?
It's just somebody walking around in a hoodie.
But what
And
about a
you're like,
flag though?
right.
That's what I'm saying. The symbolism of the flag versus the hoodie.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering, like, if we're all doing it,
Right.
but it's to stay
different
safe, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's because somebody told you that these people might not be safe. And so then whenever you see it elicits a reaction. Yeah. So, and that's why I'm like, I hope that this like calms down. I think what will make me calm down more is if this comes out uneventful, where there's no violence or like, I don't know. I don't really know what I expect of anybody. Everybody has their strong views and ideas and what they want and what this is. And I don't know.
I feel like the United States, they play by a different set of rules because people really storm the Capitol. You know what I'm saying? That's like, that's unpatriotic. That's like, what is it called when you betrayed the country?
Yeah.
And they treated it like pretty much a smack on the wrist.
Yeah.
And to me, I feel like that right there, if he's elected, that's saying like that's okay.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I don't think in a million years that we would ever think that people would do it. And we watched it.
Yeah.
And it was on TV, and it was like somebody, I think, died from it or whatnot.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a joke. You're supposed to be scared to do something like that. And even if you're not scared, you should have militia. You're supposed to have all these. You guys went with masks and big hats.
Breaking windows and taking people hostage and doing that kind of stuff. Yeah.
To me, I feel like, I know that's why they probably slapped it on the wrist, but it's still the country. It's the government. I don't know. It's wild.
It is. But, what's so crazy is we've been building up to this for the last year. And so let's see what this week is going to give us.
Well, I'll say this. This has been a pretty quiet build up in comparison to before. I don't think he has a chance. I think that we have to feel like that. Well, they have to make it seem like that so people will watch, because it's really big in ratings now.
That's crazy that we're even talking about ratings for this.
Yeah. So to me, I feel like it's the show.
Okay.
But I do believe that when I saw that video of those old white men, it wasn't about, they was like, did you see him last night? Did you see him moving his lips? It was like, did anything come out? Lies. All lies. Like, that's what I'm saying. When I was like listening to it, like I've stereotyped, myself. And it just made me feel like, maybe the other side ain't as crazy as we think.
Yeah.
And I think this election will show that.
Yeah.
Maybe bring us closer, but it's always that idea that maybe not. But this would be a good time for us to grow up as a country.
Yeah. Yeah, well, by the time y'all watch this, we will already know, right?
Yeah.
We will already know what the answer is. And yeah. And then I can update you on whether or not I'm feeling crazy. So
I guess you just got to watch the next episode.
Yeah.
Or the episode after that.
Or the one after that. I don't know. But yeah. So, I wanted to ask you something real quick. And it may not be a real quick, but recently we had a friend over. And the friend was talking about how he was talking to his kid about sex. And you were like, you shouldn't be talking about this, right? Do you remember when I say it, but I know you do. When we first started, before we had kids, we said we were always going to be 100% honest. We were going to equip them as much as we could with as much information as possible, especially considering the experiences we had growing up and sexually. But it feels like recently you've really turned the corner. Like, I understand feeling like sex complicates a lot of things and it shouldn't be a concern. But we talked a lot initially about kids are going to come into situations they're going to have strong feelings. They're going to feel like this is what they want to do. Do you feel like you choosing not to show how to put on a condom or talk about like the possibility of sex and what the feelings may be and stuff like that? Do you feel like you're cheating them out of some of this?
No, I think we're not showing them how to use a gun.
Right. Well, I don't have a problem with that either.
Me neither, but I'm saying we're not going to go do it. It's not, we can do it, but I'm saying like, why is it necessary? Like, to me, I feel like this. The idea of showing them how to put on a condom is letting them know that if you do decide to endanger your life, you should do this. Like, and at this point, we have too much information for them to be doing anything that we were doing.
Well, I think this is a lot like when I used to study adolescent health and people would talk about, you don't talk to kids about suicide because they'll see it as something that they might do. And it's not necessarily true. If you put them up on the things that are possible and how to navigate it, like in the end, we can't control what they're going to do. They're going to make decisions. I don't think, especially with our kids and how they view relationships and sex.
I think they will ask us questions before, like, see, I think when you speak on this, you're talking as if this is what you needed. I feel like our kids will come to us for guidance in that. And they even said it. And I remember asking Dallas, I was like, would you tell us, I think you were there. He was like, would you tell us that you had sex? He was like, no. He was like, why not? He was like, because I'll tell you before. So to me, I feel like if they have any questions, they don't have a problem with coming to talk to us, but to prepare them, I feel like it's belittling the idea. This isn't a little kid's game.
So you're saying if they came to you and said, I feel like I may be ready to have sex with somebody.
I would need to understand why, and they would need to convince me.
So if they talk to you, and I don't think there's anything they could say that would convince you.
It isn't.
But if they came to talk to you, so then when the conversation is over, you would let them walk away knowing that that's probably what they're going to do and not tell them how to make it a safer choice?
I prefer them to go talk to you because if you're not here, they need to convince me why. Because to me, like this, our job is to reduce the chances of them messing up. That doesn't like it's like it ain't got nothing to do with God. It has everything with your decision making today.
I agree.
If you think you can cross this boundary and you get away with it, you're gonna do it again. You're gonna say, okay, if I do it this way, and the more times you do it, the more chances of you messing up before you. So in my head, our job is to convince them, hey, you're way too important to be playing that game.
I agree.
And I was like, everybody who plays that game, they don't lose, but all the ones who lost, they played that game. You know what I'm saying? So to me, our job is to convince them where they can be like, I believe in what he's talking about, or I believe in them. Like my family, my parents are this old and they've talked about the life they grew up. They need to be like, man, why would I do that? And at the age where they are now, they're so green.
Yeah.
To me, I think it just backs me up but I'm glad I'm not in a situation, but I think I would think differently if they were in that situation.
I definitely feel like they're too young right now, but I was just thinking like Dave's going into college. Dallas is coming up. And so you're saying if they weren't at this age, you would feel differently?
No,
or if the situation presented itself, you don't know.
I don't think being in high school, this should be presenting itself. Like when they get in college, they're more adults. They're gonna be around people, their peers or whatnot, peer pressure. That's gonna happen or whatnot. But I would like to think that they would make the best decisions. But they're adults at this point, not adults as far as complete maturity, because they're gonna make mistakes or whatnot. But I expect that if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen with other people that's doing stupid stuff. But at a mature level. In high school, nobody knows what the heck is going on.
I agree.
So to me, I just feel like now I don't want them to ever think that you need to be equipped to to know how to have sex? Because you shouldn't.
I agree. I don't think that they should. I guess my fear is when we came into this, and the other thing is when we came into this, we thought our kids were going to be much more like us, and they're not. So convincing them of why it's not necessary, I don't think that we have to. Like, we've had enough conversations with them where they could sit there and say, that's not something I want to get into. Now, I will say that we've had enough conversations with them where we've talked about the pros and the cons, not many pros, like pros for adults, but the cons of all the things that could happen. And I remember when we were younger and we used to talk about, you know, kids are going to do what they want to do. They feel like the adults don't really know what they're talking about. One of the things about ours that I wasn't prepared for is they definitely are not distracted by a lot of the things that young people are. Like when we were riding yesterday, I remember I was so into boys and relationships and all other stuff. She was like, you know.
But I think that those are the things that they think they're supposed to have the way that we talked about them.
Yeah.
They don't understand how it complicates life at such a young age.
Well, you know, it's funny because sometimes they'll say stuff to me. They'll bring up stuff I've told them about when I was a teenager. And and it's not like they're like, you remember when you did this? It's kind of like, you were making some crazy decisions. Like, you know, I don't know what we were talking about. Dallas was like, well, mother, like, when you were my age, you were doing this. And I was like, you're right. I mean, you know, they have that perspective where they look at it and they're like, okay, this is all that she experienced, he experienced. They don't want that for themselves. Like, when I've talked to them, it just doesn't, they're not us.
Do you think that removing out all the distractions we had, do you think that we learned anything to navigate the world that they would need? Or is it just that what we needed? And I don't even know what we learned, honestly, because we were one mistake away from not being here.
Yeah, I think that I learned how to navigate complicated relationships, but I shouldn't have.
Yeah, I know, should you?
Right. But, you know, it's funny because it makes me feel like I have more practice. So when I came across certain people in college, I already knew people I wanted to deal with and people I didn't want to deal with. When Day goes into college, she's not going to have anything to say, okay, well, I don't like this or I don't like that. And I don't really know anybody who's done that. So I feel like I always tell the kids that people you talk to or you date or whatever in high school, they're all test dummies because you're not going to move on with them in life most likely. And so, you know, you just have fun. You don't complicate things, but at the same time, that's how you went into college. I'm just going to have fun. I'm not going to complicate things with relationships and stuff.
Not knowing I was making it.
But you did. Yeah, when you add sex in, it does complicate it.
Completely.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess I remember my life and I always said, I'm not going to let them go through life and not I don't want them to discover certain things that I could already equip them with going in. And if they did come and talk to me and they said, this is what I plan on doing, I definitely agree with you. It's like, there are only cons to this situation. Like, I get what you're trying to get out of it. And if you're in a relationship and you say this is the next step or whatever, but it's only traps. It's only traps.
Like the idea to think this is your person and you're willing to throw it all. The percentage of winning it just changes.
But you know, nobody could have told me about you after a while. Like, trust me, when I first met John, I was like, he definitely looks like that's trouble. I'm not. It was like, not that one. And I was like, I'm not gonna talk to him because this is that. And we started having conversations. After a while, it wasn't nothing anybody could tell me about you, and that is scary than a mug. Like, when I look back, I'm like, people are like, Kanika, and I was like, oh, this dude.
I can't wait until you know why, because I still think it's crazy. Because you made me feel like that's what all women would do for me.
I don't understand why I made you feel that way. If you were dealing with enough women that was it common.
But I was I was mostly dealing with you as far as the amount of time spent. So to me, I feel like if other women got as much time, they would do the same thing. So in my head, I just thought that that's what came with the game. Yeah, I know. Like that was like a poor reflection of what I thought life was going to be. But you really thought that that's what you were supposed to do.
I did. Yeah.
I know.
You know, it was really crazy. That's another thing I don't want. Like, I was really over the top. I need y'all to understand. I was really over the top. And I don't want, like, Dallas is such a loving heart. And Day is so, like, Day looks out for you. And I don't want them to give up every part of them to somebody because they really like throw everything in the kitchen sink at the person that they like. That's what I'm fearful of.
Why not?
Because people get taken advantage of.
No, I get it, but don't get in it unless you plan to really get whatever you're supposed to get out of it. Like, I think that's what I'm saying. Like, as they get older, we want them to like enjoy life, right? But how do you know how? Like me, I can tell you why it was easy for me to keep people at a distance and not get caught up emotionally. Like, that meant I could never grow. Everybody had a ceiling and they didn't even know it, even you. But if you're going to give somebody a relationship, like if you don't give them that, how far can it go if you're not even giving yourself? And I know heartbreak comes with it, but it doesn't have to be like what we think it's going to be. It could be like, they weren't ready for this. I just feel like at their age, going into this, if you don't give me 100%, what are you doing?
I understand. So if I can circle back to us as the parents then, do you feel like you talking to the kids as this is the only way and this is the only way, do you think that it keeps the door open for them to come and
I think you do
brainstorm?
You keep the door open for them. Maybe I always want the door open, but the way that it sounds probably doesn't sound like that. But I feel like it's easier for them to talk to you about things where you can like, okay, this is what your father meant.
Yeah, but I really feel like translating what you mean versus you being able to explain it.
I know. I mean, that's what I'm working on. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm working on. Like, I don't want you to tell my message. Just I know, but
yeah. I mean, yeah, and I didn't necessarily. I understood when our friend was talking about conversations with their son. I understood where you were coming from. But I guess I was just trying to figure out how do we not make it so intense in knowing our stance that they don't even feel like they can come and brainstorm and think through.
I mean, that's all me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't put that on them at all. Like, I need to like figure that out before before it's one of those, you'll understand when you get older happens. Because there's so much I can give them now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just work on that. I'm gonna have to. But everybody can leak.
Yeah. Okay.
Anybody you want to give a shout out before we get out of here?
Kamala.
Yes.
Blessings to her.
Yeah.
And throughout this task, and hopefully when this comes out, she will have been victorious. And if not,
no, I don't think it's if not. I think she should. Yeah, this is what I'm interested in seeing. Yeah. Her to be able to represent whatever she thinks she's supposed to do as a president. And it's going to be a different look because it is a woman.
Yeah.
And I want to see it. We've been following man for so long, and the information that we have on women is like in Africa, like a long time ago. And it's like they give these stories, but like, I think women can lead now. It's like, well,
there are plenty of women who've been leading countries. I mean, even in COVID, they talked about how they managed.
Well, I guess this is what I'm saying. Like, history's been completely written by men.
Yeah.
And no other country is the size of the United States is being ran by a woman. Mm-hmm. Like, as far as the influence, who's watching, who those other countries, I'm not knocking them, but they don't have the responsibility she's going to have.
Yeah.
And I just want to see her touch on it. Like, like I know that she's only so much she can do, but she can still make it look like a woman was involved. And I know that women bring an eye that most men can't see coming.
Yeah. Good luck.
For sure. Y'all make today better than yesterday. Don't worry about anything you can't control. GATA. Get after that action, or that action will get after you. Be great on purpose.